Welcome everybody to the Check Swing podcast with myself, Jay Watson, Radio Man, as you can see right there. That's my Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and all that good stuff. Just in case you didn't know. But of course, the star of the show is my man. He calls himself Santa. I call him Miguel. People call him Coach Santa. My man Miguel Santa is with me once again, rocking the Phillies hat as he normally does. And like I like to start every show. Actually, we got a couple guests that I'm gonna bring on just shortly. But I like to start off every show by asking the people that are with me, whoever's co-hosting with us, how you been? So Miguel, it's been a week, man. How you been?
Been very well, sir. Still getting acclimated to the DMV. Loving it so far. It ain't Philly, but I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing yet. But
Well, nothing else is Philly. No, no.
and you're right about it. And you're right
Right
about
now it is cold in Philly.
it. Yo,
Right. It's not really cold yet, but it is cold. But this show is going to be a little different from some of the shows we've had in the past. This show is not necessarily about a, a particular sport. It's not about breaking down the sport. What we're talking about, and if you already know, you may not. We're talking about student athletes, mainly high school, college student athletes, and also mental health and discipline within these athletes. And we brought on a couple friends to talk about this particular subject with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on in. Of course, we have Miss Afia Lewis that you've seen on the Check Swing podcast before, and a new face on the Check Swing podcast. We have Coach V is with us. Welcome, ladies. Welcome to the show. We personally say I appreciate y'all for being with us, taking the time out. I know that y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
So, a lot of things going on in the news. I got to bring out my notes. We got a whole thing full of notes here. I should put them here, but I don't want to block them. Here's my notes, y'all.
I'm proud of you, Coach Justin.
Notice I didn't let you see what's written on there because but I want to get right into it with you guys. Well, first, let me introduce. But let me introduce Afia. Well, you've been here before, Afia. So I'm gonna start with Coach V. Coach V, tell the people a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, I am the founder and the executive director of Open Door Abuse Awareness Prevention. It's a violence prevention program for youth, and we use the medium of sports to do trauma-informed care and violence prevention. And I am a football coach, and I work with a number of teams in the Delaware County and the Philadelphia area.
All right, and Afia, tell them a little bit about what you're the Hall of Famer.
Hall of
Last
Famer.
time we talked to her, she's about to go into the Hall of Fame. Now she's officially a Hall of Famer. But
We got to talk to her different. We got to treat her better.
Oh, you kidding?
well, you have no idea. I had to put on my gold undershirt just so I can feel like I was worthy enough to be in the presence of the Hall of Famer. But it was too tight, so I had to take it off. I couldn't breathe. Came a little bit.
Embarrassing. All right. So again, my name is Afia Lewis. I am at Temple University, of course, Hall of Famer. TU. In fact, I got a T right here on my.
Bam, there it is.
Yes, got my Temple University. I'm a former Temple University athlete, but I'm also a former high school athlete, former college athlete, former coach, and I'm currently an educator in the William Penn School District. And I'm also I'm just an advocate for kids, an advocate for people.
Nice.
Absolutely, and we appreciate y'all once again for being here with us. And I kind of want to get right into the. Actually, I messed this whole up. I'm looking at my notes and I messed this whole thing up. But we'll have to just go back to it again. We were actually supposed to talk about something previous to them, but I got so excited to hearing you guys talk beforehand. I just said we just gonna get right into it.
It's okay, sir. We can recap that next week. It's all good.
And I'm not ashamed to say I messed up. I mess up sometimes. Players mess up. That's what they say. That's what the kids say, right? We were talking about mental health and discipline when it comes to student athletes. And Afia, you and I and Miguel, yesterday we were talking about how the discipline for student athletes for or what discipline should look like for student athletes when they have, I guess what you would call an infraction on the field of play or on the court or whatever the case may be, as opposed to the classroom. What are your feelings on that? And just share with us for a little bit what you think about those disciplines.
So so when we had our pre-show and we spoke about our student athletes being disciplined on the field and off the field, and we need to be able to teach our student athletes that there's a difference between where you are here and where you are there, right? You should not be. I felt as though you should not be penalized inside of your school building, and your academics should not be penalized for something that took place on the football field, because you're in two different mindsets. You are essentially almost two different people. While you are a student athlete, I didn't feel as though for even if you get into a fight on the field or whatever that took place, those same triggers aren't there with you in a classroom. So that's what my take was, and I felt as though that since the mental health piece was so important, we're in two different places, and we need mental health support on the sidelines, like Coach V is, to support some of those ideals. So that's why I had Coach V is one of the most amazing people as far as mental health and athletes that I have ever had the opportunity to meet. And that's why I absolutely wouldn't want to talk about this unless she was here.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach V. Afia was speaking very highly of you in our pre-production meeting, and I personally I've had the pleasure of speaking with you on two separate occasions, both being this year. I don't even know if you remember them, but I'm going to put them out there. You called me about an opportunity for some student athletes, from baseball players. I'm just going to say for a commercial. Yes. I was actually in Vegas at the time.
Nike, yes.
And also we spoke about a month or so ago at a football game. Yeah. It was kind of dark, so you may not have even saw me.
I remember. I do.
And both times, absolute pleasure to talk to you, to speak with you. I want to pose the same question to you, Coach V. Discipline when it comes to student athletes with infractions on the field. What would be the best course of action for those infractions, as opposed to some of what happens in the classroom, where it's almost like an automatic suspension for certain things that may happen, or in school, or detention, or whatever the case may be? How should we handle the on-field stuff?
I'm not 100% sure, and I have to be 100% transparent here.
Give it a scenario.
Yeah, I need a kind of scenario, because
okay. I'll give you one we spoke about yesterday without putting any names out there. Let's say there's a basketball game. The basketball game is physical, and a fight breaks out between two guys on the opposite team. Not a whole big thing, just a fight breaks out.
Yeah.
Should the discipline be the same for those athletes according to the school handbook as if it happened in the classroom, or should this discipline come in a different form?
I personally, and it's just my view, I personally think that kind of discipline on the court, on the field, I think an ideal situation to me, the coach has already set the tone for your behavior on the field and on the court. At this point, if you're doing something contrary, you're violating what your principles are on your team. And I feel that individual ought to be held accountable by the team. When it gets escalated to the point where, it has to be pretty escalated to the point where I feel like the school itself would need to step in. But I firmly believe that if you have a proper culture on the team, I believe in building a team culture, right? A code of honor. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. The minute you step over that line and don't do what we agreed to as a team, these are your consequences. As far as I'm concerned, the school really has nothing to do with that. far as I'm concerned. We're going to handle our business on our team. So whether it's, whatever it is, we're going to handle our business. Now, if the administration says, something, that's the coach will deal with that with administration. But that coach ought to be the go-between, I feel, between the administration and that player. Because it's the coach's responsibility to set the tone for that team. That's how I see it. It's a culture thing.
And it's funny because I think in past meetings I've seen administrators say, well, they're not just representing the team, they're representing, it's like they put this burden on the athlete, like they're representing the entire district or the entire city. And, their reputation is now tarnished because of what this one student did. So it puts double pressure on that student. Like they're carrying this weight of the entire program because of this one action.
And any good program is going to be already telling these teams, you represent this school. They're going to hear a lot of that. They're going to hear, let's be proud of where we come from. Let's proud as the Patriots. They're going to be like, let's represent us well. Every good team is going to be doing that, and they know it already. They really already know it. But we haven't even begun to talk about why they did what they did, right?
Right.
We're just dealing with the tip of the iceberg, right?
Mm-hmm.
The obvious behavior.
Mhm.
We're really talking about something when we can look past the tip of the iceberg to all the stuff beneath. Like in Alaska, you see the tip. There's a lot going on underneath that water.
Under the surface, under the surface is a whole iceberg
So-
waiting for you.
So even if you say we decide to deal with the tip of the iceberg, you still haven't touched what's really going on. And if you really want to do your due diligence, all right, you're going to touch what's going underneath the tip.
Absolutely. Miguel, you can attest to this. As a coach, I've told parents, I've told teachers, if there is an issue with one of my student athletes, let's take the parent route, right? I don't tell anybody how to parent their kid. But what I will ask of a parent is if they didn't take care of something that they were supposed to at home. I understand if you want to enforce your own discipline. I understand that, and I can't do anything about that. But please don't keep them from the sport, and let me know, and I will discipline them on the in practice or whatever the case may be. That way they can still be a part of the team. They can still do things that they want to do. But let me go back to what I was saying before. It almost seems like I think it would be unfair and almost like double jeopardy to have discipline on the field from your team and then discipline from the school. You understand what I'm saying? So you're getting punished for the same thing twice. And I think, in the long run that takes a toll that can discourage a kid from even really wanting to participate in something like that, because now they may be suspended from school and suspended from the team. And what can they do? They can't do anything.
So coming back in education now after COVID, right? Coming back in education now after COVID, our student athletes had time off during this time. There is a tremendous amount of trauma on the sidelines. There is a tremendous amount of trauma inside of the school buildings, outside of school buildings. I mean, we have student athletes that missed whole seasons now. And that's one of the reasons why it's some of the students, for some of them, it was hard to come back and be the student athlete that they would have been had they not missed that year. And that's one of the main reasons why I say, you know what, these kids absolutely need a mental health professional to be there supporting them on the sidelines, to be there supporting them with this transition back into our full-time sports playing like we have now.
So it sounds like you're saying that it's almost more important now because of COVID than it was prior to COVID to have to be aware of mental health with the student athletes and even have someone there to recognize certain things. Like for me personally, I'm not trained. I don't have the trained eye. I'm not a professional to recognize things that may stand out to someone that has that trained eye. Is it fair to say that all teams right now post COVID? I mean, just think about the team I coach. We've missed 2 straight seasons. So my guys that were freshmen the last time we played are now seniors. They've missed two full seasons. Some of my seniors never got to get their final season. Is it important for me to find and recognize mental something that could be an episode, or has a professional there to guide me to how to approach an issue that a student athlete may be having, although I can't recognize. I mean, how do I, as a coach, how do I approach these upcoming seasons? I'm trying to say things the right way. How do I approach the upcoming seasons with all that is going on from a mental health standpoint?
Number one, be aware that it's happening. Coach V, I think this is a better question for you, but I think recognizing that there is trauma there, is a first step.
You know, I got together with some of my players and I asked them, I said, how did COVID affect you? Because the truth is, in a lot of ways, we do a lot of assuming. We don't mean to, but we do a lot of assuming. And it's really much better just to ask, right? So I got together in the locker room with some players and I said, tell me, how did COVID affect you, right? I had a couple of different answers. Kid said, now, depends on where you're from. I'm in an urban setting and a little bit of a suburban setting. My urban setting was like, it was fine. I had me time. My only problem was being able to just get into bed. I had to get out to bed to do schoolwork. Long story short, in the areas where there's a lot of violence, they felt safer.
Wow.
They felt safer because they were in their house. They didn't have to go anywhere, right? But they desperately missed sports. Yeah. I mean, in Philadelphia, in some places, the rims were taken down. And I'm going to keep it 100. When COVID started, I partnered with the Earth Foundation. We rented a 13-acre field, closed in, nobody could see it. And we brought players to the field to do workouts. I had players biking all the way from West Philly to come and do workouts with us. You see what I'm saying? Around that time, a young man got shot. A football player got shot. They needed an outlet so much. That is, it's like going cold turkey. 1 minute, you're in your element, you're playing a sport that you love, and all of a sudden it's just stripped away from you. There's that desperate feeling of, I need this. And I knew when COVID struck in March, right? Last March, I knew that we couldn't just shut down sports like that. And not only that, in some cases, the coaches couldn't even have any contact with their players except for maybe Zoom. And even that took a while, right? Because not everybody had a computer. So these kids were left out to dry with not knowing what was going on. And again, their lifeline is sports, because that's how my mother is going to be okay. I'm going to go to school for free, right? And these years are gone. You can't get them back. There was a type of desperation in the area that sports usually afford our kids some hope. Unfortunately, education could be sold like that. But sports is like, I want to be a basketball player. That's everything to them. And all of a sudden it's stripped. They're left like, what the heck is going on? I united with the Earth Foundation, rented this field, did drills, workout, fed them, everything, all with the COVID protocols. But you could see we lost not one young man during that time, even though that guy biked all the way from West Philly. So COVID pulled the rug from underneath our players, our athletes, who were banking on athletes to be their way out. They had nothing to do now. They're wondering, oh my gosh, how am I going to school for free? It wasn't so much, oh, you're not, you got to be home. No, I don't mind being home, but don't take sports from me. I don't mind being home. Home's not a big deal to me, but I need to play if I'm going to get out. And so now you have 12th graders just getting their season back, really playing still like they're in the ninth grade because they haven't been skilled, they haven't been drilled. They don't have the skills. They rusty to say the least, right?
Right. Yeah.
And on top of that, let's just talk about this. Their grades have dropped significantly for a lot of reasons, because we know sometimes players just play to play sports. They just go to school and pass to play sports if we're keeping it 100, right? So all those things come into play when it comes to how COVID affected. It wasn't so much being home. A lot of them, well, that depends on if you were home with an abuser, that was something else. That's a whole nother story. But these young men, from what they told me, I think we ought to do our due diligence and just note that some of our young men didn't mind being home. They just didn't like missing sports. Let's be very specific about it. I hope that made sense. Now, this one computer is going to die, and I'm going to switch over to another one in a minute.
All right, well, go ahead. Do you think, Coach B, you're giving us?
Speaking of technology, right?
You're giving us some gems here. So yeah, go ahead, do what you got to do, and we'll be out here waiting for you. We ain't going
Yes, no problem. I just want to hear a little bit more about her program, Open Door Abuse Prevention and Violence. I definitely wanted to hear more about that. But I agree 100%. We have to look at things different now with our student athletes. It can't just be we're just going to discipline you and then you're done. That could take our kids to a different level, take our people to a different level when we snatch sports away from them and tell them all of a sudden you just can't play anymore. You as a coach have established a culture for your team. It's the same thing in the classroom. I established a culture in the classroom, and the expectations are clear. And those relationships, as we talked about in the first interview that we had together, those relationships truly, truly do matter.
Absolutely.
There she is. So, Coach B, can you tell us a little bit more about your program? You are the founder of Open Door Abuse Prevention and Violence.
Yeah, and I started that. You guys can hear me okay on this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I started that organization through the medium sports. I decided to do prevention through the medium of sports. And the reason why I did it, and what I'm about to say may trigger some folks, so I want to just pad that a little bit, not trigger you just on purpose. But I started my organization because as a young person, my father killed my mother. And I don't think my dad woke up that morning and decided I'm going to kill my wife today. There were underlying issues that never were dealt with. There were flags. There was mental issues. There was hardships that he never really had support for. So I started ODAP in order to give young men the opportunity to not follow in the same steps as my dad. And the way I could do that, I thought and felt very strongly, was through the medium of sports, because sports has the power to heal trauma. Sports actually has the power to heal trauma from a neurological standpoint, as well as just the community that develops, the family that family feel that it gives, that safety that it provides. There's so many rich things about sports and teams that can actually help change the wiring of the brain that's been experienced trauma. Dr. Bruce Perry talks about this a lot. And so what I'm doing is, in violence prevention, is it's not enough for me to say to a young man, hey, don't treat a girl bad or don't be violent. I need to tell that young man why he would even think about being violent first before I can tell him not to be violent. So it's a very deep type of work that we do. It's not a drive-by, like drive McDonald's type program. It's like you don't drive through and get a good meal and that's it. No. ODAP, when we connect to a team, we're there. At least I've been with the teams. I have been now for 3 years. I've seen young men graduate. As a matter of fact, my vice president is a graduate of Penwood, And I met him when he was 14, and he's my vice president on my board now. So we're talking about a retention here, a life-changing retention, because when the young men start to understand what makes them tick, they make better choices and decisions, and then they turn around and give back. So that's what I'm finding. I invest years with these young men. I've seen many graduates, like that young man that I was telling you about earlier that called me, was thinking about hurting himself. I met him in high school. He's 12 credits from his master's.
Why don't you, do you mind sharing that story? Because that was pre-shows. You don't have to give any name. I don't want any names or anything like that. But I mean, if you don't want to share that story, that's fine. But if do you mind just to give some insight as to some of the things that you do on a daily basis?
Well, I asked him, can I share his story? So I know he's okay about it, even though I won't say his name. But I got a call, ironically enough, I got a call from another young man at Temple University who was going through. And this other young man called the guy at Temple, and he said, you should call Coach V. So 12 o'clock midnight, I got a call from a young man who was thinking of harming himself due to the fact that he had put himself in the transfer portal. He had gone to a new school, thought he was going to play with the team, and stuff happened. It was his final year of eligibility. They refused to give him back his final year. He was 12 credits away from his master's, and all he's done is play football. And now they won't give him back his final year. He's thinking of harming himself. I was on the phone till 2 o'clock in the morning. First of all, there's more to you than football. And just walking him through, understanding what's going on with him right now, and just being patient and listening to him. But again, I met this young man that I'm talking to 2 o'clock in the morning in high school too. It's not the first time we talked. So the idea is with the work that we're doing, we realize that sports can be a stepping stone. But again, it's a beautiful platform for prevention, for violence prevention. It's a beautiful platform for violence prevention. And I don't want to talk too long, but I will say this. The social power, if you will, a team has in a school is very strong. If you have a team and you build a culture of respect for women, a culture of respect for each other, then that filters out through the whole school. And I saw it happen with Penwood and the young men that I work with. Young men who would normally cause a scene, they walk down the hall, they go, ODAP, nope, we don't do that anymore. I saw Penwood go from this crazy guys fighting all the time to the guys calming down, checking themselves, just from the work we started doing with them on the sideline. You saw the culture start to change in that whole school because they have a lot of social weight. Everybody look to the athletes, And if you got a good winning team too, and they all agree as brothers to be respectful toward women, and that's what they're putting forth throughout the school, you're going to have a different type of school. You have a different type of school. So the medium, sports is a beautiful platform for violence prevention with the right coach and the right type of work and filtered into it.
Absolutely.
I love how God speaks through you. It is.
How about it? Like I just want to sit here and just listen to Coach V talk. Like I don't even want to say anything.
I tell you, like I said, Coach V will be. This is just the beginning, Coach V. This is just the beginning.
Coach V, this has been a tremendous blessing. And one thing I wanted to ask, you mentioned about having the perfect coach. Have there been instances where you've had challenges working with a coach that just completely was in full rejection mode of what you were trying to teach, trying to preach?
Well,
and how did that what was the fallout from it, or how did you change?
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. Well, just backing up a little bit, as a football coach, a Black woman, as a football coach, I can remember going to the Glazier clinics, and I'm ready to go to the restroom, and there's no restroom for women. I was like, can I go to, oh no, they all closed. Everybody, what? Why? Why don't you have any women bathrooms? You don't think women can coach football? Right? So I had to, that was like, okay, this is okay. And then of course, when you get where you go into a clinic and you want to learn some X's and O's, they're patronizing you like crazy, like, oh, we got to not curse. There's a lady in here. Finally, I'm like, excuse me, I'm a coach. Can you just teach your X's, okay? I just had to say something like, can you stop? Right. Don't make me feel bad because I'm sitting in your workshop, right? Like, really? Like, just start right there. Now imagine me getting on the sidelines and with my trauma-informed, coaching. Right. It's a man's world. It's that sacred cow ground, if you will. And let's just go, it's a white man's world. It's a white man's world, quite honestly, right? So these things I'm going upstream with to begin with, and they're all doing their sacred cow coaching, if you will, screaming and hollering at the players, cursing them out, right? Trying to get them to perform on the field. And I'm looking at them going, you don't really need to do that. These guys will perform. So I've had coaches, and I'm going to be, I learned through trial and error. I've had coaches that I've tried to do my program with, and they patronized me, right? And they would, to my face, say things like, we really love your program. But when I was gone, they were undoing everything I did. So what I decided to do was no longer work with just anybody. A coach has to pursue ODAP to work with them. That coach has to be vetted and recommended now. We don't even bother anymore because our program is so impactful and so life-changing that there's no point if they're not really bought in. So if a coach doesn't recommend another coach to our program, we won't take that school on. So the alpha male, if you will, we talk about toxic masculinity. And I don't want to throw that word around lightly either, because now it's becoming that buzzword. But I think having a firm hand is good. And somebody might call it toxic masculinity. I'm not going to call it that. You need a firm hand sometime, right?
Thank you.
But I will say this. Sometimes what we find is that coaches are trying to live through the players, their glory days.
Yeah.
And while they're yelling at the player, they're really yelling at their failed self. Okay? They're yelling at their failed self. And that's not healthy. It's just not healthy. And so the times where I've had to intervene, I had to, kind of intervene very, strategically, carefully, if you will, so as not to stir up too much pride in a coach. I'm very.
How so, Coach V?
Huh?
How so? Like, what would be? Well, here I'm a belligerent coach, yelling at my players. How are you approaching me? And let me tell you, that's not Miguel. That's not me at all. Like, I don't have that.
One single ounce of Justin is there. Not one.
The first thing I'm going to do, this is what I do. First of all, let me just say this. And I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time, but the first thing I do.
We asked you to be here.
And we paid extra for the time, so you're good.
All right. So when a team decides to work with ODAP, one of the first things we do is have a meeting with the coaches. We explain how we operate, where we at, and we do some trauma training for the coaches. We explain to them, right, the difference between, like, let's say verbal abuse, shaming, these things that they think that were okay. We're talking to them now about, we're going to do some trauma training for our coaches. We're going to help them understand where we're coming from. Once that's done, on the sideline, I may come close to a coach and go, Coach, you all right? right? And just that little gesture is enough to take a moment to get them to check themselves. You see what I'm saying? Once I just have to, a lot of times now with my team, all I have to do is be on the sideline and look at a coach, and he'll check himself because he knows that somehow he's a little bit out of character. Okay. And this is the honest truth. This is the honest truth.
I believe it. My dad used to do the same thing to me.
Yeah. Because now our theme this year was get in the blue. I explained to my young men that, and my coaches too, everybody knows this. Getting in the blue means getting into that part of your brain that you can critically think through something, right? That you can really think about the next play you're supposed to make. The red brain is the one that's totally on fire. It's out of control, anger. While you need some of that for the field, that aggressiveness, you really can't do very well if that's all you got going for you. You just bull in the china shop. So I tell my players, get in the blue, and they know what that means. That means stop, breathe, think, get a hold of yourself, regulate. You'll play better that way. Well, with the particular team I work with, now you have the kids saying to the coaches, get in the blue, get in the blue. And everybody knows on the sideline what that means. They help each other regulate each other. That's what we are doing this year. Literally. So when it is,
we're having some issues with Coach V. We're having a little bit of, I know you probably hear us, Coach V. We're having a little connection issues,
if you will,
with you.
And they're inadvertently hurting a player. I think I'm churning here. I know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't want to go on, but there's a lot to it.
No, and I appreciate that because I know some sports more than others.
But I just really try to be careful, and I try to be very, very strategic.
Absolutely. I know there's some sports more than others that it calls for, I guess, more aggressiveness. Like football and baseball, a different type of mentality on the field. Basketball, and just every sport has its own mentality, and a lot of times, coaches, we can, get a little too into what's going on. It could be the thing where maybe we don't like the coach on the other side, and we really want to beat that coach, and we want our kids to do everything we've told them to do, and once they don't do it, it's like we worked on it 100 times in practice. Why can't, and I get that. So I mean, what you're saying does not fall on deaf ears. But I do want to ask you this, Coach V, your organization. What's the name of your organization? Because I'm going to put it up on the screen.
It's Open Door Abuse Awareness Prevention.
Okay.
Open Door Abuse Awareness Prevention, short for ODAAP. ODAP. ODAAP.
And how can is there a website or something that maybe coaches can go to or anyone can go to?
It's ODAAP.org. ODAAP.org.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to put that in there right now for people that if you need to get in touch with Coach V, or if some things that are being said tonight are touching you in a way that you know that you should reach out or need to reach out, or even if you just want to put this information and have it there for if you feel later on you might need to reach out. This is for you. We are all coaches here. We have all athletes, coaches, and we do it for the kids, right? That's why we do this. We do this for the kids, and we're really here for them.
I want to tell you one more quick thing too. Let me just tell you one more quick thing. We're on this. One of the things that we're kind of debunking with our organization is, I have to talk to them that way to get the best out of them, right? Screaming, hollering, cursing them out, right? So a player says to me, Coach V, You know, he has to, you know, that's the way that's how they get us to be more fired up and play better on the field. I said, is that so? And the player says, yes. And I said, well, let me explain something to you, son. In the corporate world, or even at your job at Giant, they will not be cursing you out to get the best out of you. Okay? They're not going to curse you out to make you perform better. So that's a bill of goods. Do not buy it. And if that's what you need to perform, there's something terribly wrong. So I wanted to debunk that quite early, because we feed our kids some lies that they actually believe because we coaches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I stated that actually during my when I had my speech for my Hall of Fame speech. I had a nice coach, and after that, I mean, if there was a championship, we were there to win. And that's different people. Different people perform in different ways, and having someone that is overly aggressive is not. It's not how everyone performs. I don't perform. I don't even perform that way, and I am considered a phenomenal athlete. I don't perform in that manner. Being nicer to students,
and less
people,
less and less are performing. You know why? Because there's so much trauma going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much trauma going on. Kids are totally different nowadays. And that's what they complain about. Oh, they so soft. No, they're going through things that you didn't have to go through. Mm-hmm. They're working through things. There's so many things kids are going through right now. And half the time, my kids just tell me they just tune those coaches out. They're not listening to them.
Yes. Yes.
I believe it. I believe that.
Yes, they do.
I believe that. Before we change up, because I know this is an hour long. I could talk y'all the rest of the night for real. But we got to save some more for another time, and we don't want to give them everything right now. But before we do switch things up, Miguel and Afia, was there anything else you wanted to bring up with Coach V or ask of Coach V?
No, I'm just grateful, Coach V. As I spoke to you before, this is just the beginning.
Thank you, guys. Honestly,
she means it too. She got some plans.
I have some plans.
She's got some plans.
I mean, I just my players mean a whole lot to me. They really, really do, and I'm very passionate about making sure they have everything they need to move to transitioning from one step to the next, even if it means, you know, having to, you know, kind of have a good chat with the coach, you know.
I would love to have somebody like Coach V around at my practices and at my games. Not saying that I'm out there, and Miguel, like I said, Miguel would tell you, I'm not out there in kids' faces yelling and stuff like that.
Not at all.
I tend to put I'm the type of coach that I'm like, a kid will say something or something will happen, and we're going to discuss the whole situation. Because not only, like, I can easily tell you what you should have done, but I kind of want you to figure it out. Because if you figure it out, that's how you learn it. In my mind, that's how you learn things. But I would love for Coach V to be there at some of my practices, just in case I could have done something a little bit better and did something a different way. Because I know, like, I'm not perfect at all. You know, nobody on this earth surface is. But I would love to have somebody like Coach V around, just to you know, critique me. Not just critique, like, critique me or talk to me about some things that, you know, maybe I could have done differently, or, you know, something she may have seen that I didn't see. I mean, I don't have Miguel anymore. So
you killing me for this movie.
I'm just saying, Miguel went to a whole different state on me, but it's all good. I'm not bitter at all.
He's in my hometown.
Where's your hometown?
DC, man.
DC.
DMV.
I'm
I got
about to
we
watch
got
it.
a lot of people watching from
Yeah.
DC.
I'm in
Yes.
Bowie right now, so we're about 20
Bowie?
minutes.
You're in
about
Bowie?
20. Yep.
Oh, my cousin lives in Bowie.
Okay.
Are we related and you don't know it?
Probably, but yeah, I listen. It would be an honor to be related to you. I'll just say that it would be an honor.
So I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I have to now. I have to do this. Like I don't, but I have to. And Afia's already laughing. I think she knows where I'm going. But I have to do this since everybody's talking about Maryland now. I just want to say shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody in Maryland right now. Shout out to you. Love
Yeah,
you.
he was excited that I had on these colors today. It was by default.
Mhm.
I think she did it on purpose, personally.
I'll put my
I'll tell you, you can put the T over. It's cool.
yeah,
Miguel, did you have anything that you wanted
Absolutely.
to mention to Coach V?
I actually wanted to. I'm thankful for confirmation in a couple areas because me and Justin have coached together for a long time,
Mhm.
and we've never been like yellers or whatever the case may be. And it kind of, whenever I would see other programs or coach against other programs, and I'd see coaches kind of really digging into their players, and they'd win, I'm like, should I be that? Should I match myself up to that status of coach? But then
Yeah.
an epiphany happened. Me and coach, we coached in the program with higher. I hate to say higher level, but these were in a higher level league, and we wound up winning a championship, not conforming to that style. You know what I mean? So it was kind of confirmation. Like, you don't have to yell and scream. You don't have to berate or belittle
Mm-mm.
to get young men to stay on course for something, whether it's a baseball championship, whether it's in the classroom. You don't have to be nasty and aggressive to achieve championship status or whatever the case may be. So I'm just thankful for the confirmation in that area. And I'm hoping that your program could be something similar to the change with the concussion protocols in like football, for instance. Like in the beginning of the year, they test everybody out and have develop like a baseline for the physical brain. I'm hoping that this program could be something that every sport can develop a baseline for in the beginning of every season for the emotional brain. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
hoping, because that it sounds like this is a program that's needed across the board at all levels. And I think if I had this for myself, I probably would have overcome some depression issues because there were a lot of chances that I didn't take because of where my mental state was. There's a famous slogan: "You miss 100% of the shots you never take." There were a lot of
Mhm.
shots I missed because I didn't take them.
Yeah, that's
So
good. That's
not
real.
not to say that like I'm grateful for this journey because it kind of took me to the point where I needed to be,
Mm-hmm.
as a coach. But sometimes I'm like, man, if I just had that one person to say, man, you were a good catcher, or you were a good leader, and because I didn't have that, and there were so few resources back when I, so years ago. But if I had what was available to had then what's available now, you know,
Mhm.
I'm still grateful though. I'm still grateful for this journey, and I think my mission is to be the person that kind of brings all this together for
Yeah.
others that didn't have. You know what I mean? So I'm just grateful for you, grateful to the program, and thankful for what you shared with us today.
I appreciate that. And I want to just say something else really quick. Like, I work with like Amotep, great school in Philadelphia, great football program. We get in the huddle and they're getting chewed out. And and coach says to me, Coach V, what do you think? And I look around at the players and I said, you know what? You know how I am, guys. I'm never going to curse to any one of y'all. But y'all going to play for me 150%. And you know why? Because I love you. And I'm going to be disappointed if you don't give me all you got on that field. And you know what those players did? They all shook their head and yep.
Yeah.
And when I'm on the sideline and my players didn't get that didn't make that move,
Right.
you're going to see me take that player, put my hands in and look at him and go, are you giving me 100%? And he'll say, no. I said, I need 100. He said, and go, next thing you know, he's out there doing his thing at 100%. I didn't say anything, but are you giving me all? No, I'm not. I need you to change that, son. Yes, I'm going to. He goes out there and he does the job. And these Tech players, they all unitedly, their head was bobbing like, yeah, man, I'll get out there and kill it for you. But the motive behind what you do has to be more important than what you do, right?
Yeah,
and kids know. They know.
Yes,
They know. You can't fool them.
No, you cannot. You cannot. They do it because you love them. Now, I'm an elementary coach, V, and when I love you and I want you to be the greatest, and they want to do it. Oh,
that's powerful.
I actually started. I guess I think it was Miguel that one of your last couple seasons when you were there. I actually started telling the team at the end of practices and games that I love them because someone said to me, they may not even hear that at all in their home life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I wanted to make sure that they heard it at least, whether they believed it or not. I can't control that, but at least they heard it, and they heard it on a daily basis.
There you go.
Some of me said it back to me,
and
I was like, "Oh, thanks."
I know it's awkward when you get it back. You're like, I'm supposed to say that, you know what I mean?
They're like, "We love you too, coach."
It creates a culture of people who genuinely want to make sure others succeed.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's what happens on teams. That's what happens in schools. That's what happens everywhere. And we have to change. We literally have to change the wording that we grew up on or that we experienced. It's a shift, right? But so was COVID. It was a shift, and it's okay. Even when I work with my parents now, when they come to the school and they're worried, everybody's worried and stressed out. I left my mask. It's okay. First of all, good morning. It's wonderful to see you. I'm glad that you came to school today. I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad you exist. And you look good. That's what you'll hear. Like I said, every morning, I love it. It's my most favorite thing to do, especially when everybody's worried that I don't have my mask. I'm missing a pencil. I'm missing that. No, we're not going to do that. I'm just happy that you're here. We got pencils galore. It's a school. We'll be all right.
I feel I ain't gonna lie. I'm asking if you're vaccinated, and can you please wipe your hands off? I ain't gonna lie to you. I work in a college setting right now. I'm like, you ain't got no mask on. Could you go on the other side of the door real quick, and I'll be with you in about 3.5 minutes while I find you a mask. I'm sorry.
We have our vaccination clinic for elementary coming up November 18th at Park Lane Elementary School in Darby, Pennsylvania. So November 18th, I look forward to seeing the elementary students out there.
One last time, ODAAP.org, Open Door Abuse and Awareness Prevention. Right. If you go to that website, check it out, get in touch with Coach V. Coach V, I'm going to invite you to stick around. Miguel, we're going to save the new segment for next week.
You got it.
We'll save the new segment for next week. But Coach V, I want you to stick around for this. Now, I'm inviting you to stick around for this next segment. It usually takes us to the end of the show because I usually struggle with it quite a bit. And I think Miguel gets a real kick out of seeing me struggle with it. But
absolutely no. You encourage me when you guess right.
This part of the show, Miguel picks somebody, picks a professional athlete. It's been baseball. I think we're changing it. I think Miguel.
Not this week. I'm gonna change the starter next week. I'm gonna change the starter this because the World
Series. He picks a baseball player, right? Miguel is a baseball historian. Okay, I don't know if he considers himself that. I consider him a baseball historian. You should have saw. I was amazed by his knowledge last week when I gave him somebody to get, and it was a team from 1969. He wasn't even born yet, and he ran through the whole lineup trying to figure out who I was talking about, and it wasn't even a team that he follows. So he's a historian to me.
My mom kept me in the house a lot. I thought I wasn't a bad child, but she let me out a lot, and we had cable, so I watched a lot of baseball on cable. That's all that was. Okay.
So what happens on this segment, Coach V? And Afia's been here for it before. She's watched me struggle and sweat. He picks an athlete. He gives me the teams that this person has played for, as well as jersey numbers, and I need to figure it out. And I do get clues, but I struggle. Okay, and here's what we got right here. This guy's a two-time. This is a baseball player, right? Yes,
Correct.
I can see. Two-time All-Star, and he was a two-time World Series champion.
Correct.
And those were his jersey numbers.
So here's. No, I'm not going to give you that clue. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness! All right, so okay, the Phillies is one of the teams.
Correct.
Phillies, Pirates,
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay,
Very good.
Astros.
Correct. He. I don't know if you'll get this, but you might. No, you. He won a World Series for both teams that played in this recent World Series.
You mean as in like this past year?
So Houston won the World Series in 16,
Right.
and they were in the World Series this year. Atlanta won the World Series this year.
Oh, why didn't I think of it that way?
I think it was
like he played from 95 to.
I'm sorry, it might be my English. I was a C average student in English in high school for English. So he pitched for the Astros when they won the World Series and this year's Atlanta Braves team.
Who pitched for that? Who pitched for that
And
team?
it literally just won this week. So like,
Yeah, and I'm terrible because I did not. I caught like half of like 2 games this year in the World Series. I'm terrible.
Did you happen to see game 2?
Was that the game Houston jumped out to the big lead? Atlanta won the first game. I think Houston jumped out to a big lead in the second game, like 7-0. Or is that what's his nationality?
European of the European. He's white. Anglo-Saxon. I don't know. He's American.
You know what? He
yeah,
was mentioned on the radio yesterday. I think I know who it is, but I can't think of the name. I'm not going to get it, and I know I'm not going to get it. Two-time All-Star. Was he an All-Star with the Phillies?
Actually, no. He was injured with the Phillies, and that's what made Phillies fans upset because he was good before he came to Philadelphia. He was garbage in Philadelphia because he was injured, and then he left Philadelphia and got better.
It's not Jake Arrieta
Oh God, no,
because he didn't pitch for the Braves.
no.
we about to be down to 2 minutes.
I like it. I feel got you on the clock.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't know.
This is
And I know when you show me, I'm gonna be mad, but I don't know.
This is for the sailboat in the Winnebago.
You got me on this one.
All right, and I forgot to put a picture up, but it's
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. It doesn't count since you make a picture. That doesn't count. Well, who is it though?
Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton was supposed to play for the Phillies.
He played for the Phillies for like 2 months. He was injured for most of the season. Had like a 6. Yeah, yep. And
I had no idea.
Before that, he was with Tampa Bay. Had like a monstrous ERA, so that's why they got him. Was garbage with us. Got injured, and then went on to Houston. Almost got a Cy Young. Won a World Series with them. And the rest is history. And he won a but he broke his. So I said something happened to him because the first game of the World Series, he had a pitch hit off of his ankle
and he broke his leg. Right.
He still pitched to one more batter, and then he limped off. So that's all.
You asked me if I saw the second game of the World Series.
And I messed up, and I'm sorry. I got my games mixed up.
You know what? I'm going to get off of here before I have to have a conversation with Coach V.
Are you triggered? Do we?
Yes.
Coach V, talk to Coach. Coach V, you got to talk to him.
Look, hey, Oh, hey, you got me on that one. You got. I thought Charlie Brown was like he never played for the Phillies, but obviously he did.
See, you
Um,
always go with your instinct because every time you just say, "Well, it ain't that person," like 3 or 4 times you just guessed it. You're like Juan Pierre. I was like, "You got it." You're like, "Holy crap, I did." Just say
Yeah.
it.
yeah, you're right.
Just say it, man. Have confidence, man. Say it with your chest. Come on.
Say it with my chest. Say it with my chest. This chest right here. There you go.
That's without the gold shirt underneath.
Yeah, I had to tell you, that didn't fit anymore. We had a Hall of Famer on, so I had to get ready for Hall of Fame.
I'm going to send you guys the webinar that I just did with a few NFL players and collegiate coaches. I'm going to send it to you, Alfia.
Yes,
you can pass it on to them. I'm going to text it to you now. I'm telling you, it's very powerful. It's very powerful. It's very powerful.
Can we share it with our student athletes?
Yeah, it's every athlete ought to listen to this, no matter what sport they're playing.
Gotcha. All right.
This is really, really a good one. Did you get it, Alfia?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Yes. Pass it on. Very good stuff. Very good stuff.
At the beginning, Coach V, you are so amazing. Reading about you, listening about you, hearing about you, even from my own child that you have access to, you know, and the fact that she was on it. I said, I need her. She said, Mommy, she's available to me. I said, yes.
And I remember, I want to say it was pre-COVID. You were on the news too, weren't you, Coach B?
Yeah. I've been on the news a couple of times.
And I remember, I was like, because I remember sitting there, I was like, wait a minute, I know her. I know that coach. But I want to thank everybody for checking out the Check Swing podcast. Special thanks to Coach V and Hall of Famer Miss Afia Lewis for being with us. I think Afia has tied a record now.
Yeah.
Or is she one away from the record of appearances on the Check Swing podcast? I think Monique was on here 2 times or 3 times. I don't remember, but we have to check the tape.
And it's a long tape. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
But I want to thank everybody for being with us. Appreciate y'all very. You know, it was a great show. Got some great information. Remember, ODAAP.org. ODAAP.org. Open Door Abuse Awareness Prevention. All right, coaches, student athletes, anybody who needs to get in touch with Coach V, start with that website right there. Okay. For everybody else on the Check Swing podcast, appreciate y'all for being with us. We will check y'all next week here on New Twist Radio's YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the New Twist Radio YouTube channel. Okay. Very important. Give us a thumbs up. We're trying to make some things happen here. We're trying to bring y'all the best content that we can bring. And we know now with Coach V, we're going to be bringing some of the best content.
Oh, yeah.
All right. But like I said, for everyone here at the Check Swing Podcast, New Twist Radio, appreciate y'all for hanging with us. We'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.